What's going on, everybody? Today we have another streaming tutorial, and today we are covering audio. So, now that you are streaming on a PC, you are interested in separating your audio. While audio can be one of the most frustrating things to deal with as a content creator, it doesn't have to be that way, and hopefully this video can help. Now, there are a bunch of really good Voicemeeter tutorials already out there that cover this same topic. However, everyone has a different audio setup. And I feel that seeing different ways of doing things can help you discover which best way suits you and the way that you want to run your setup. If you have ever seen a video about Voicemeeter, you may have seen this and gotten a little discouraged. But it really isn't as difficult as it looks. In reality, the portions that we will be actually looking at will be just these, the portions that are not covered by a black box. If you haven't ever looked up a video on Voicemeeter, well, say hello. It's time to get familiar with one of the most useful and probably the best free audio software that there is. Now, Voicemeeter is a digital mixer that you can use to separate your audio, like your game audio, Discord, or Spotify. Let's say you're playing a game and you want to focus up on your game sounds. You want to turn off your music. However, you want your stream to still hear the music that's playing. Now, that's all made possible with Voicemeeter. And the same goes vice versa, where you can listen to the music and your stream won't hear it at all. And that's really good for avoiding copyright in certain places. Now, this can apply not just for your music, but for all sources of audio, including Discord. Now, in this video, we will not cover everything that Voicemeeter has to offer, such as voice processing and recording. Instead, we will focus on only what you need to know in order to run your stream. I will break down Voicemeeter so it's very easy to understand for anybody. And by the end of this video, you will know how to have complete control over your audio for your stream and PC. So let's get into it. Well, I've left a link in the box down below where you can actually find the install for Voicemeeter. And when you come to the page, you'll notice that there's actually 3 different versions of Voicemeeter. You have Voicemeeter, you have Voicemeeter Banana, and you have Voicemeeter Potato. The main difference is that they all just have a different number of inputs and outputs. This video will be dealing with Voicemeeter Potato. This is the program that I use for my setup, and there is a disclaimer for this. Voicemeeter Potato is a donationware software. The application is free to use with all functions for 30 days. And after 30 days, if you haven't donated, it will start throwing pop-ups at you. I would suggest at least donating the $10 and getting the permanent license for your PC. If you ever have to reset your PC, you can still reinstall the program again for free, as long as you bought this license. If you really want to go the free route, go ahead and download Voicemeeter Banana. The only difference is that you will have to do a little bit more MacGyvering to get the audio to be split the way that I do for my setup. And this will involve downloading and using virtual audio cable, which I will talk about a little bit later. So after you download the Voicemeeter program, you will have a zip file like this. Make sure to just unzip this and you run the installation. You will be prompted to then reset your PC. After you do that, you want to just launch up Voicemeeter Potato. Now, your Voicemeeter will have these lights ticked on, and it might not look exactly like mine because my mic is already running through so I can record this video. Now, before we do anything, let's first go up to menu, and we want to make sure that Auto Restart Engine and Run on Windows Startup are both checked on. This makes sure that the program starts up every time you launch your PC. Now, we have a bunch of columns, which are our hardware inputs on the left and our hardware outputs on the right. Think about all of these different columns as separate audio lines. These will be used to have your audio separated. What's nice about this version of Voicemeeter is that if you sort of get confused or forget what something does, you can hover your mouse over something and get a description in the top left in that yellow text that you see is changing up there. All of this text will be a little confusing at first, but it will all make sense as you get more familiar with the program. Now, what I like to do first is untick all of the lights. We will get to explaining these in a moment, but we just want to make sure that these are all unticked. I'm going to keep this B3 light ticked on because I am recording, so my mic is already set up. I will show you how to do this in just a moment. Now, we want to go and name our inputs to be nice and organized. These, again, are represented by these columns right here. Now, the first input will be our first hardware input, and this is going to be our microphone. we will name this main mic. We do this by clicking on, with the right click, the title, and you can title yours main mic, like I did. Press the enter key, and then you want to select this option right here, and this is where you click on it, and you will be given this window. Now, WDM, KS, and MME are basically all of the same audio devices, they just use different drivers. Now, you are going to want to select your mic from the WD portion of this window right here. I am choosing analog 1+2 Focusrite. This is my mic. I already have it selected, so we just close out of this window. And now when you speak, you should see your mic moving up on this bar right here. So as you'll notice with this version of Voicemeeter, there are more hardware inputs to the left. There's actually 4 more hardware inputs. Now these can be either used for more microphones if you have them, which is perfect for like a podcast setup, or you can use them to split up more programs if you need to, if these 3 columns aren't enough. And I will be getting to that in a little while. So if you have a lot of programs that you want to separate, you might be utilizing these columns over here, but I'll show you how in a little while. So that was your one hardware input, hardware meaning your mic. Now we have our virtual inputs. Like I said before, to the left, these are our hardware and virtual inputs. These are inputs. And to the right, these are our outputs. So we're working on our virtual inputs now. These are going to be your different audio sources that are coming from your PC that you want to separate, such as desktop notification sounds, alerts, Discord, music, etc. Again, these are the audio sources that you want to separate. And this is the part where everyone likes to have their differences on how they set up their audio. Now, this is not by any means the only way that you can have your Voicemeeter set up, but this is how I do mine. Our first virtual input is called Voicemeeter input, and this is going to be our new main PC audio output. Our new PC main audio output. We will set that here in a moment. It is going to include all of our sounds on your PC, such as your notification sounds, alerts, everything else that you don't want separated. Again, just think of this as your main desktop audio, this column right here. So let's go and title this column by right-clicking and typing in desktop and hitting the enter button. That will help us remember that this column is our new desktop audio, represented by this column right here. Our second virtual input is Voicemeeter AUX, Voicemeeter aux. I like to have this column be for my music. It's just something about the word aux that makes me think of music. So that's personally why I have it set up this way. Let's title this column music. Again, right click and you type in music and hit enter. Finally, we have Voicemeeter VAIO3, which we are going to have this column for Discord or the voice chat program that you choose. For me, I'm using Discord. So let's right click finally again and type in Discord and hit the enter key. All right, so now we have assigned our mic and titled our inputs, both our hardware inputs, our one hardware input, and our 3 virtual inputs right here. Next, we have to go and assign our hardware output. So we have our outputs over here, and that is going to be your headphones, your earphones, or your speakers, whatever your setup uses. For my setup, I use both a headphone output and a speaker output. So let's go and assign them both right now. The first one will be my headphones. So for A1, we want to click on this A1 button. This is our first hardware output. And again, you'll be shown this window, and you want to go and find your headphones. For me, this is my headphones right here. I'm using my Astro Mix Amp, so I have it selected. For you, just click on your headphones. In most standard cases, it will just be headphones Realtek audio for you, but I am using my Mix Amp. So we select that and then exit the window, and then you should see your headphones listed underneath the hardware out. The second one is my external speakers. Now I have these connected to my PC using an aux cord. These speakers are the ones that I turn on when I don't want to wear my Astros. To assign my speakers to my second hardware output, I will hit the A2 box and go and select Headphones Realtek Audio. Again, A1 and A2. A1, headset earphone, and A2, my speakers, which are my headphones, Realtek Audio. The final section to pay attention to is our master control section for our audio outputs. Those are these right here. These allow you to raise or lower the volumes of your outputs. So these first 5 columns are corresponding to your hardware outputs, the ones with the A's. So to adjust the loudness of your headset, you use this A1 slide. And if I wanted to adjust how loud the volume is coming out of my speakers, my external speakers, the A2, I would use this A2 slide. Now, you may notice that there's no music or any audio moving right here. That's because we don't have anything playing yet, but there will be soon. Okay, that's all done. Now, before we do anything else here on Voicemeeter, we have to go and assign our new inputs and outputs to our PC itself. We've done all this on Voicemeeter, but it's not yet reflected on the PC settings. So to do this, we want to right click down on the bottom right, and you want to right click on your speaker input, and you want to hit sound settings. You should get this window right here, sound settings. Alternatively, if you can't find the speaker, you can go down to your search bar and type in sound settings, and it will be right there. Now, where you want to go is down to the bottom of the screen, and you want to hit advanced sound options, app volume and device preferences. Now, this may be the most confusing part to understand for some people, so just bear with me, you got this. On the top of the window, you will see input and output. So this top output is referring to your PC's default audio output. Basically, this is the collection of all of your audio sounds on your PC, such as notifications, sounds, alerts, and everything else that you don't want separated. This should sound pretty familiar because we labeled this same collection of sounds over here on Voicemeeter. It's the Voicemeeter input. So we want to go back to the sound window, select this output selection box, and go and hit Voicemeeter input for that. Now for our PC's audio input. This would be your main PC's mic. You want to click this drop down box, select Voicemeeter out B3 from there. This will make more sense in a moment, but just go with it for now. Just remember that Voicemeeter out B3 is your new computer default mic. Next, we get to the part where we assign the different inputs and outputs for each separate program on your PC. For us and this setup, we are leaving most programs on default and only separating the music and Discord channels from the rest. Again, we all may have different programs that we want to separate. However, the same idea will apply. If you are having trouble finding an application on this list, make sure that the application is both open, and if it's Spotify or a music app, make sure that there is some music playing. Then you should see it appear in this window right here. Let's start with music. So my music plays through my internet browser, but I will also show you what linking up Spotify looks like. Go to your internet browser, and this is my Brave browser, and you want to select this top box, which is our output, and we want to select Voicemeeter AUX input. That is because we are using the internet browser for music, and that is the line that we had assigned on Voicemeeter for music, Voicemeeter AUX. So the application that you want to run your music for, you want to have the output set to Voicemeeter AUX input, this one right here. Now for your input, it shouldn't matter if you're using Spotify, but for me, I'm using Brave browser. And I want to assign my mic to the input because it's my internet browser, and if I join, let's say, a Zoom call or a Google meeting call, I want to be able to use my PC mic still. So we hit the drop down box, and if you remember, we just mentioned this, Voicemeeter out B3, this is our new PC default mic. Whenever you have an application that uses your mic, you want to select Voicemeeter out B3. Also note here that if you do not want to use your internet for music, you might want to select this box and leave it on default. That will make it so that your internet sounds all come through your desktop audio. Because as you remember, I set the Voicemeeter input as our default desktop audio. And since our Voicemeeter input is set now as our PC's default desktop audio, any application on this list that says default will automatically be assigned to these. So our internet, if you don't use it for music, you can just leave it on default and the noises will come through with your notification sounds and whatever else is on your desktop audio. If you use Spotify for music, you want to go down to that and select the top output box and select the Voicemeeter AUX input. And that's all you have to do for that. Okay, that's the music and the internet browser part. So now let's do the Discord part. For most people, you use Discord, but if you don't, let's just do the same thing with your voice chat app. Go ahead and find it on the list. Now I just had to open up Discord so it shows up on this list, but go ahead and find it on this list, go and click the top box and change it to Voicemeeter VAIO 3. That is the same column that we assigned our Discord back on Voicemeeter. So let's find Voicemeeter VAIO 3 input. If you have multiple Discords that pop up, you want to do that for both. So Voicemeeter VAIO 3 for both outputs. What that is saying is that that's telling your PC to send your Discord audio to this column right here, your VAIO 3. We labeled this on Voicemeeter. It should be easy to understand and remember. If you ever get confused about which column is which, you have now labeled the columns above which line it is. So Discord is your Voicemeeter VAIO 3. Now for the input box, you want to select this and you want to go and find your default PC mic, which you should know by now, Voicemeeter Out B3. Remember that. I'm going to try to drill it into your head. Your new mic is Voicemeeter Out B3. Additionally, you might want to go inside of your settings inside of Discord and change your audio inputs and outputs to the same. So let's do that. You want to go inside of your Discord settings and go to the Voice and Audio tab. For our input device, we want to select the box and click Voicemeeter Out B3. Again, this is our mic. And for our output device, we want to choose Voicemeeter VAIO 3 input. Again, that is the output to where our PC is sending the Discord, which will be this column right here. So that is all for your PC sound settings window. We can close out of that. To finish the setup of Voicemeeter Potato, you want to send your different audio inputs to your outputs so you can hear them, because right now you still can't hear anything. We are going to be doing these with these buttons that we unclicked earlier. You want to make sure at first you don't have anything clicked on. All of these buttons, which show the A's and B's, represent the different audio channels that you use to send your audio across from one another. The A1 light, if you remember from before, is your headphones, and that can be seen at the top right. Hardware out. A1 is your headphones. So you can kind of see the connection. Remember, I have two hardware outputs, both A1 and A2. A2, which is my external speakers. For now, I only want my sound in my headphones. I only want sound to come out of my headphones. The speakers won't have anything coming out of them. So we tick on the A1 lights for these three columns. So now, if you play desktop audio, music, or voice call on Discord, you should hear and visually see these bars moving. Let's test this out right now with some music. Joking, I don't want to get copyright, but if you play music, this bar right here will be moving. Same goes as Discord. We can just go ahead and play a sound. Woo! There you go. You see that this bar right here is moving up and down. It moved when my desktop made a noise. If I want to hear these sounds on my external speakers, I just simply have to hit these A2 lights and the audio will come out of my speakers or whatever you have set to your A2. As I said before, you can have 5 hardware outputs if you have 5 separate speakers. And if you wanted everything to come out of everything at once, you would have all the lights turned on for the music column. This would mean you want all your music, you want music to come out of all of your hardware outputs. We only have 2 hardware outputs, and I only want my headphones to have the music right now. So we could only leave the A1 light ticked on. For now, we only want all sounds to come from our headphones. So yours should look like this. The very last thing we have to do really is just send our mic to our new default PC mic, which was B3. What we have to do here is send your mic on Voicemeeter to that channel. In the most simplest terms, we will be sending your mic to the B3 channel by clicking this B3. If I unclick it, you won't be able to hear me. But when I click on the light, you can hear me, and your mic is being registered and sent to the B3 channel that you set as your default mic. So anywhere where you set Voicemeeter out B3, that is your mic. This line right here isn't being used, and I notice this light is on. It's sending it to B3, but there's nothing being sent to B3 because there's no mic or anything selected. So this really isn't doing anything. None of these lights over here are doing anything because there's nothing assigned to these columns. But like I said, we want to keep things clean, keep all the lights ticked off only for what we want. And like our 4 columns that we're paying attention to right now are just these 4 columns. And after you've set your mic, you really don't have to ever touch any of these lights unless you really want to change where the sound's coming from. That's when you use these 3 lights. You want to take it out of your headphones or send them to your speakers. Or if you want to use this B3 as a kill switch. Now this is an important button for many people. If you want to just completely kill your mic from all sources, nothing can hear you, you want to click this light right here, B3, it'll kill your mic. It's your mic kill switch. So the final bit that's worth doing at this point would be to set a noise gate and maybe a limiter on your mic, like I do. There are other places to assign these outside of Voicemeeter, but I like to do this in Voicemeeter so that way it's across all instances of my mic on my PC. The noise gate helps with eliminating background noise from your mic. You just take this knob right here and you drag it to your desired number. Essentially, you want to drag it up until you don't hear any background noises getting picked up in your mic. And you would see it visualized visually right here in this bar. You would just drag it up until you don't see any like clicking or talking in the background. You just drag it up. The stronger the noise gate, the louder you must talk in order for your mic to pick you up. So I'm going to leave mine at about 2.5. Now the noise gate might be best adjusted later when you're working on leveling out your overall sounds on OBS, but this is a good place to point this out since we're still on Voicemeeter Potato. Additionally, we have a limiter, and a limiter will limit the volume to a certain loudness. So once the audio gets to a certain loudness, it won't go any louder. And again, this will be easier to adjust and the number for you will be more apparent once you're messing around on OBS. But for me, I'm just going to drag mine down to about -5. And again, what this means is I can talk as loud as I want, but my loudness will not, it won't breach the limiter. It will only cap out right here, you know, for you guys that scream a lot on stream. Now, essentially, this is everything that we have to do on Voicemeeter again. You should not have to hit any lights unless you are either killing off your mic or changing where the audio is going to. Next would be moving on to OBS to add your new audio inputs and outputs to your stream. This is because we have separated all of our audio, but it is not yet changed on OBS. Before we do this though, I want to add some additional notes about Voicemeeter since we have it fully set up. In my setup, I use 1 mic, but if you have more mics, such as for a podcast setup, you will assign more mics over here to the left using these hardware inputs. You would do the same and you would assign them to B3 and send it through your mic line Voicemeeter out B3 once you selected it from the select input box. I don't have a second mic. Additionally, you can turn these other hardware inputs to control even more computer applications if you need to. I game on an Xbox, so all of my audio from my game is captured using an Elgato, and it's collected through OBS. My game audio is not sent through Voicemeeter. You don't see the game audio movement anywhere on this program. But let's say you want to play a game on your computer and not using a capture card. With the way that Voicemeeter is currently set up, the game audio would be sent to your desktop audio since we have not separated that application. If you want to separate more programs or games from your desktop audio, like the music and the Discord, you will need to download something called Virtual Audio Cable. I will also provide that link down below. You simply download the program, extract it, and run the installer as administrator. It's free. It will now create a new input and output called VB Audio Virtual Audio Cable. And we can see that by going to our sounds. And it is reflected right here. This is the cable that was installed. VB input for playback and cable output for recording. Now, if you do this, it might change up your audio settings on your PC. So let's make sure that doesn't happen. If you install Virtual Audio Cable, you want to go back to your sound settings and make sure that these top two boxes are still set to Voicemeeter input for your output and Voicemeeter out B3 for your input. As I said, if you install the Virtual Audio Cable and reset your PC, it might by default swap this to the cable input. You don't want that. You want Voicemeeter input always as your output and Voicemeeter out B3 always as your input. And this might be a good place to also say that if your Windows PC has an update and it changes stuff around, this is often something that might change as well. So if your sound seems to be a little wonky after a PC update, come and check these areas right here, the output and the input. Make sure these are same, the Voicemeeter input and the Voicemeeter out B3. Okay, so let's separate that game audio from your desktop audio. So first, make sure that your game is launched. I have Shenzhen IO, and you have the sound settings window open, the same window as before. Now, to split your game audio, you want to go and hit this top window, which is your output, and you want to click Cable Input, VB Audio Virtual Cable. That will send the sound from Shenzhen IO, your game, to cable input. And for the input box, which is the bottom one, you want to select this and set this as your mic. In all cases, your mic Voicemeeter out B3 will be the selection for these bottom boxes or default. That's because your input on your PC is Voicemeeter out B3. That's your new PC input, your new mic. This will make it so that your mic will still be able to be used on your PC if you're using a game that has game chat. Additionally, you might want to make sure to check your in-game settings itself to make sure that the settings for audio are set to these as well. So for your output, cable input, VB audio cable, and for your mic in-game, you want to set it again to the Voicemeeter out B3. You're probably annoyed at me saying that, but you got to get that drilled into your head. Your mic is VB audio out B3. Now we just go back to Voicemeeter and we name our column for our game. So let's just name this. You right click up here, you name this PC game and hit enter. And now from this drop down box, you want to hit select input device, and then you want to click your cable output. So now if you take your game, you should see movement on this bar right here. See? Whenever I click stuff, you see movement on that bar. This bar right here, that means, and it's showing and telling us that the sound is being sent through Voicemeeter through VB, through the cable output, VB audio virtual cable. If you want to hear it, all you got to do is turn on the A1 light. Just as these same columns, you want to treat this column now, this game column, as the same as these other separated audios. This is not a mic anymore. This is now another split audio source. And it's called cable output VB audio virtual cable. Make sure the A1 light is ticked so you hear it in your headphones, and we are good to move on. So now it's finally time to move on to OBS. You have your audio completely separated, but it's not yet set up on OBS. So let me drag over these windows for you. Now this last part is easy, as long as you understand how to use OBS, but it may be a little different depending on how you want your setup to be and which audio sources you want on which scenes. Let's keep this simple and add all of our audio sources that we just split to this one single scene. So on this scene, it's called YouTube recording. This is my YouTube recording scene, and I only have my cam and my desktop capture. So as we see, our only two audio sources, our desktop and our mic. First, let's make sure your mic is fixed. So since you've installed Voicemeeter, you've changed some things up. You want to open up your OBS settings and go over to the audio tab. First, let's make sure your mic is working. So go over to this mic / auxiliary audio tab, and you want to click and select and make sure you have your mic selected. Your mic, Voicemeeter Out V3. And for your desktop audio, the top option, make sure this is set to Voicemeeter input. This is your default PC desktop audio. You want to hit apply and OK. We have now just added our mic and desktop audio to OBS. You should see the sounds reflected in this audio mixer here on OBS. Woo! All right, it's working. Now let's add our separated audio for music, Discord, and our game that we separated a few steps back. To add our music, we first want to right click and hit add and go to audio output capture. Here, we will type in music and hit OK. Now we will be given this properties window, and from the properties window, we want to hit the drop down box for device, and this is our music. So what is our music line? If you remember from Voicemeeter, our music line is Voicemeeter aux right here. So we are assigning this column now. It's not yet on OBS. We need to assign our Voicemeeter aux. So we add Voicemeeter aux input right here. Hit OK, and now we have our music line popping up on our audio mixer. So that's music, we have our mic, desktop. Now let's do our Discord. So audio output capture. Let's go over and same thing here, same thing. Go and type in Discord and hit OK. Now we have our Discord line here, but we haven't set it up on the properties window yet. Hit the drop down box and hit the line for our Discord. And our Discord is Voicemeeter VAIO3 input. Again, you can go and check Voicemeeter if you ever forget which option or which line is which. For the final time, you could check right up here the name on top of the line that you are designating to that source. Now, that would be everything unless you play on a PC and you separated your audio using the virtual audio cable we mentioned earlier. Let's add that separated game audio to your OBS. We right-click on the sources, go to Add, Audio Output Capture, just like before, PC Game, hit Enter, Properties window pops up, hit the drop-down box, and this is our PC game. We chose cable input. This is our virtual audio cable for our PC game. And now, if you look on your audio mixer on OBS, you probably feel like a pretty cool kid. You have all of your separated audio sources all lined out for you. And if you play any of the lines, you will see movement on those lines. So now that you have all of your audio sources on one scene, you can go ahead and add them to your other scenes, and you won't have to set them up again. You just hit right click and add audio output capture. Now, after everything is set up, I highly recommend going and doing some audio tests to make sure that everything sounds good. While you have all your audio sources separated now using different lines, they may need to be adjusted a bit, so some lines may be louder than others. You don't want your music to overpower your voice when you talk, for example. So go and listen to your stream through your streaming platform via your phone, or have some viewers help you know what sounds good. You can adjust your audio decibels for each slider using the audio mixer on OBS right here. Remember that we also added a noise gate and limiter to our mic on Voicemeeter earlier. This is a good time to take into account that and adjust these as well, the gate and the limiter. We are not going to get into the many filters for OBS to use on your audio sources. That's for another video. One quick thing I can suggest for some people would be to just add a limiter to your game audio. A limiter is a filter which you add to a source to make sure it doesn't go past a certain loudness. It limits the loudness. I'm suggesting this for your game audio because a lot of games tend to be super loud when going through OBS. This is also useful for you if you play a game that has many explosions, for example. So to add a limiter to our game, we just normal click on these three dots next to the audio source we want. This is our PC game, and we hit filters. We are given this filter window, and we want to right click and hit add and hit limiter. Just hit OK, and you will be given this limiter. So let's say you wanted to lower the amount of loudness that your game can surpass, or how loud your game can get. You want to just lower this bar right here. But I think for this example, a sweet spot is just how it's set at default. Hit default and close out of here. Again, I would only suggest this for your game audio, especially if you are playing a game with a lot of explosions. Again, there are so many filters and other tools that you can use to process and enhance your audio for your stream. This video was meant to cover the basics on separating your audio for your stream and getting an introduction to the use of Voicemeeter Potato. Feel free to ask any questions about any of the other features you see on Voicemeeter or on OBS down in the comments below. If you ever need help, stop on my live streams. I'm always willing to help you guys out. I hope that you have learned something from today's video, and at least you have a little bit of a better understanding of how to separate your audio using Voicemeeter Potato and how to manage your audio for your PC and your stream. I'm Mad, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.